The Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour on ESPN is brought to you by Ebonite, where advanced technology has striking results. By True Value Hardware. It's not just our name, it's our way of doing business. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And welcome to the championship round finals of the $40,000 Ebonite Firebolt Classic in Fort Pierce, Florida at Fort Pierce Bowl. And the weather has been a touch windy, but warm, and it's been outstanding all week long. And the ladies have really performed. In the number 5 position, Renee Fleming. And she'll meet in the opening match talented Cindy Coburn out of Buffalo, New York. And Cindy shot 300 earlier this week. Bowling out of the number 3 position from Albuquerque, New Mexico is Dana Miller. Starting in the number 2 slot here this evening, it's a talented left-hander, Lisa Maurice, and looking for her first LPBT championship. On top of the stack, it's Dee Dee Davidson. Hi, everybody. I'm Denny Schreiner, and working with me once again here on the Treasure Coast is Leila Wagner, who came close to the championship round here this evening, ended up 8th this week, so a good performance for you. But once again, the left-handers have dominated.
That's true, Denny. I really hate to sound redundant. However, the righties actually wore out their condition. The left-handers were able to throw 1, maybe 2 more strikes a game, and that seemed to make all the difference.
Okay, now you've got 2 players, Dee Dee Davidson and also Lisa Maurice, who have never yet won a national title. They'll be on top of the stack, and what do you think we can expect from them tonight?
Well, they're both dynamic players. They show a lot of emotion, and I think if they meet one another in the title match, it's going to be an exciting match.
Well, both of those left-handers have thrown a lot of strikes here this week in Fort Pierce, Florida, and hopefully they'll throw some more here this evening. But coming up next, the opening match between Cindy Coburn and Renee Fleming, so stay tuned.
Our opening match, opening shot here of the $40,000 Ebonite Firebolt Classic. Stop number 2 on the LPBT's Winter Tour on ESPN.
Denny, in this first match, we're going to see 2 completely different styles between these right-handers. You've got Renee, very hard and straight player, and you've got Cindy Coburn, who likes to cross the boards, and is also very slow.
Renee Fleming out of Oklahoma City. Does a lot of her bowling at Boulevard Bowl, owned by Richard Altman. Really came into her own in 1987, winning in the fall and also in the summer as well.
She was named runner-up to Bowler of the Year, Betty Morris. So she had a great year in '87.
First look at Cindy Coburn out of Buffalo, New York, with 11 career professional titles. Very, very talented player.
You know, Denny, the light hits this week seem to carry a lot better for the right-handers than the actual solid pocket hits. And I think the reason that was due to the carry down on the right-hand side.
Well, you see 9 years bowling professionally, 11 titles, and 16 and 8 in match play. Average on the television pair, oh my, 228.5. Well, everybody in the championship round really knocked down some pins on lanes 19 and 20 here. Well, everybody in the championship round really knocked down some pins on lanes 19 and 20 here. Of course, this week as well, brand new sticks, brand new wood put out for the ladies, and that's created some problems on the corners.
Yes, it does, with the new pins. They're not able to go down as easy as those older ones.
Well, yeah, but that's honest. That's what you want, isn't it? Nice
yes.
Flat bottoms on the pins, and you have to hit them to knock them down.
Except sometimes I swear you hit them and they don't go down, Denny.
Well, the scoring was, I would say, moderately high this week. Lots of strikes. It seemed to be fairly easy to get to the pocket. The whole key was trying to knock down the corner pins, as it is in most tournaments.
That's true, especially here this week. We looked at a lot of 10 pins, a lot of 7 pins for the left-handers. They were tough to get out of the racks.
Renee Fleming finishing up 11th last week in the Ebonite Thunderbolt Classic in Fort Myers. So she is steadily progressing.
Renee actually needs to get the ball a little bit farther to the right with this shot. It looks like she just missed her mark inside. She can see her ball will probably go just over the second arrow. And she actually needs to get the ball farther towards the first arrow in order to hit the dry area of the lane and to get it back. She's had a lot of problems with her hand. She tore some ligaments between her index finger and her middle finger, and she went to her doctor just before coming out on tour last week, and he told her it was all right to bowl, that she wouldn't do any more damage. However, it was going to be sore, so she has her hand all taped up. So it's, once again, amazing for these women out here with all their injuries.
Yeah, bowling's a non-contact sport, isn't it?
It's supposed to be, but doesn't seem like it anymore.
Between Tish Johnson's knee and broken hand, and now Renee's ligaments, and it's really amazing. It's a much more physically demanding sport than a lot of people would realize.
It is. We actually bowl 70 games. We actually bowl 70 games a week out here.
Well, it's the 2-4-5 on lane 19, and it would appear that either Renee is a touch too quick with ball speed, or maybe playing in the wrong area, because the ball is not reacting well at the pocket.
Talking to the players just a little bit while they were practicing, they did mention that the lanes were a bit tighter, and Renee may feel that this is her and not necessarily the lanes, and she definitely needs to make some adjustments.
Well, she crosses over, but nevertheless makes the spare. Might want to add that, of course, the 6th round of this tournament was played earlier today, and then, of course, the television pair, the lanes are stripped and re-oiled, so there is a little different type of a shot than what you'd normally have in match play, only because there hasn't been that much play on the pair. Struck the last time on the right-hand lane. That's the same result this time.
Cindy is just a really dynamic match game player as well as a television bowler. Seems like when all the odds are up for grabs, she just gets them. A great shot here. Extension is wonderful. She gets the ball out to the dry area of the lane, and as you can see it charging back into the pocket. Just a superb shot. She's been a very proficient player in the championship round. Her overall match play record in the television finals, 36 wins, only 18 losses, and that's remarkable. Trying to double up and really take a hold of this opening match, and it's an excellent shot. The 7-pin last to fall, but nevertheless, Cindy Coburn jumps off to an early lead here. And we're on the Treasure Coast in Fort Pierce, Florida. Renee, I think, still trying to solve the puzzle of the championship pair. Well, that's right, Denny. She hit light, missing the head pin on the right on lane 20, her last attempt. So we'll see if she makes the adjustment here. Oh, she made the adjustment. However, the ball not hitting hard enough to get the 5-pin into the 7. Shakes her head in disbelief, and that is not a pretty sight. Anytime you hit the pocket and you leave a pocket split, especially the 7-10, you're not real happy about it. No, you're not. And actually, we saw a lot of them here this week, as well as last week, with the back end of the lane finishing very hard. The ball comes in late, throwing the 5 either in front of the 7 or behind it. Either way, it's problem. Either way, it's a 7-10. And there's nothing like sitting on the bench, as it were, and watching your opponent go up and throw a pretty good shot and leave a 7-10. Cindy Coburn's got to be loosening up considerably here. And I would think Renee Fleming would love a 254 right now, but that's not a possibility at this stage. Renee has always been very strong on television in her match play records that we've seen in the past. She got lined in very quickly. Well, I think the thing you like about Renee Fleming is her aggressive style. She's not afraid to go out and strike. Made a nice charge here earlier today to get to the telecast and qualifying in the number 5 position. When Renee's feet get a little bit fast, she gets ahead of the ball, and her ball just doesn't quite make it there in time. She pulls it through, but her ball is hitting the oil and actually just getting into a slide, not getting into a roll to drive the pins. Ooh. Well, when it rains, it pours, and yet another problem for Renee Fleming, and the door has swung wide open.
And if there's one player that'll take advantage of it, it's Cindy Coburn. As there you see Renee hoping that it doesn't chop. But all you can do is turn around and head back and try again.
And that definitely had to loosen up Cindy's arm swing here.
You mentioned that she's had a bit of a problem with that right shoulder.
Yes, Cindy has also had a injury problem. She had tendonitis in her right shoulder for the past couple years, and she mentioned she tried all the conventional ways to get it fixed, and she ended up having acupuncture.
And of course, for the viewers at home, obviously that thumb it changes sizes throughout a match, so Cindy's doing a little doctor work there with the tape.
Exactly, especially with women. I find that your hands either swell, they either go up, go down, depending on the weather, the temperature in the bowling center, the lights from the cameras, and this is what has happened with Cindy. Her thumb is probably swelled, or it went down there because she added tape.
Trying for another strike, and she lost that shot. Oh! Well, that was the gift of the century, because Cindy Coburn knew darn well she did not throw the ball very well. She lost that one on the downswing.
Yes, she did, but it doesn't matter, Denny, because they all look the same on paper. As you can see here now, what great pin reaction.
Well, maybe another piece of tape, huh? There you see. She knew she got away with one right there. It's a 4-bagger, and she leads by 60 sticks, so... That's a much better shot for Renee Fleming. A little slower, and actually she's been swinging the ball a little bit right all week, and you can see her. She's almost pointing it, almost aiming a little left here in the championship round because the lanes are that much tighter.
She definitely made an adjustment there on lane 20. She's actually a very good player that goes up and at the pocket. She likes to point the ball and pull the ball through. However, she seems to need the dry area to the right for when her feet get a little bit fast, she can get away with those shots.
Well, the thing that's amazing to me is how long she delays the ball into the swing and how far she is behind timing, and she still is able to get the shoulders squared up and strike. So she does double and tries to pull back somewhere in the ballpark, at least close on a double. Needs to concentrate on each and every shot and keep striking as she works on a 4-bagger here on the right-hand lane, lane number 20.
I don't think we have to worry about Cindy's concentration, Denny. She is such an intense player. She'll concentrate from now until the end of time.
And
that's how she won the car when
right
she
now,
shot 300.
She is working at a 280 clip. There you get a chance to see how Lee Isle and I view the championship round. We have the catbird seat, as they say. Trying to keep the string alive, and that might have been the best shot she's thrown thus far in the championship round.
Denny, I think what's going through Renee's mind right now is she would just like to strike, throw a good game, and be on her way.
And collect $1,800 for 5th place. Well, she's off to a good start this winter. As we mentioned, finished in the top 24 last week, 11th, and right back in the thick of things this week. Very talented performer. Just, I think, now starting to get a feel for the tour and her own abilities. She's going to win quite a few titles before her career comes to an end.
Yes, I think so. And she's a housewife and has 2 kids, so that keeps her busy at home. And she would like to thank Charlie and Catherine Slegater for giving her the opportunity, they're her sponsors, for giving her the opportunity to actually come out on the tour full-time and compete.
Well, I think the thing I enjoy the most about Renee Fleming is her tenacity to win, but she has such an even makeup as far as her temperament is concerned. If she doesn't bowl well, it's not a big deal. If she does bowl good, she's happy. I mean, she's not life or death for her.
No, she's a real nice person as well. All the girls get along with Renee.
Well, trying to get a little help, but it won't be quite enough. As I mentioned, out of Oklahoma City. Of course, all the players down in that neck of the woods very familiar with Renee Fleming and her abilities. Kind of reminds me of Alvin Liu. Not so much from the look, but Alvin could leave the big four and come back with the biggest smile on his face. You know what I mean?
I've become more and more like that.
Well, that's what happened earlier this week.
Well, Denny, you know, that doesn't matter anymore.
Cindy backs off the approach because someone in the back part of the bowling facility just dropped something. So the best thing to do is reload and try one more time.
It doesn't matter how intense your concentration is. When something major happens in a very quiet area, it will break it.
Well, when you're lined up, it really doesn't make much difference what they do. You could probably shoot a cannon off here, and it wouldn't bother her. And here's a look at what happened with the rest of the finalists. Let's see, number 8, Leila Wagner, 1,500, a nice week there.
Thank you. Yes. Jeannie Maiden, Stacy Ryder, a newcomer out on tour. And there's Rookie of the Year, Paula Drake.
And Pat Mercantani back out on tour. Also, Wendy McPherson in 17th place.
Carol Norman, our U.S. Open champion. Donna Adamek, we're all familiar with.
And the effervescent Karen Ellingsworth, finishing 23rd. Oh, my, the streak continues, and it is definitely a 280 clip.
I was mentioning earlier, Cindy won the car by shooting 300, and I was asking her feelings on the final ball. She mentioned the fact that it actually felt like her first 300 ever. She said, I felt like the pressure was there in the 7th frame.
Well, we're going to take a break here. Renee Fleming is done for the week, but she takes $1,800 home in match number 2, Cindy Coburn and Dana Miller. Dana Miller's been red hot as of late. It'll be a good one. Match number 2 here, and of the 5 championship round participants, Dana posting the highest average on the television pair, 245.5.
Well, Danny, I think she liked this pair. What do you think?
She'd like to move here instead of living in Albuquerque. Opening shot. And a bit fortunate to leave just the 4.
That's right. She definitely broke up a possible split there. She got the break by tripping out the 10-pin at the last moment.
6 career titles. 31 years of age. Very talented southpaw. 3 left-handers in the championship round here in Fort Pierce, Florida, and they finished 1, 2, and 3 in the qualifying. But this young lady right here has already disposed of Renee Fleming, and oh my, 280 to 189, and Cindy threw the last 10 strikes in that opening round game in order to win.
She also beat her all-time high game on television, which was 267 prior to the last game.
Well, there's nowhere now to go but up.
Not a bad shot.
The streak ends, and the shot at the Andy Verapapa 300 also down the drain. Of course, the Andy Verapapa 300, 12 strikes in a row, whether it's in 2 games, in practice, didn't make any difference to Andy. He would take the 300 and give himself credit for it.
That was before my time, Denny, so you'd have to
obviously I remember it, but you
that.
Don't. So what you're intimating is
you're older than I am.
Okay, that's fine. Cross alley spare, and she hasn't had to shoot many spares here this evening. Cindy Coburn opens up with a mark here, as did Dana Miller. Winner of this match to take on Lisa Maurice.
Cindy was our high qualifier coming into match play, and last week she actually qualified in a much lower position and said it was real tough to work her way up to finishing 7th last week, so her objective this week was to qualify higher, and as she did, she took the number 1 position.
And then dropped to 6th, and then 4th, and then worked her way back up to 4th. Well, a couple of light hits that she carried in game number 1. Not there this time. A stubborn 7-pin stands. As you mentioned, a great concentration by Cindy Coburn, and we can update that career TV match play record now to 37 and 18, and that is astounding. Heck, 500 is usually a pretty good record on television.
I've been one of her victims on television. She has beaten me on television as well.
It's nice to know that you've contributed in some way, shape, or form.
to that record.
There you go. Well, you had a good week this week. 8th, and you had really a run the last 3 or 4 games to maybe get to the telecast.
I was very close. Renee bowled a real good game, though, the 7th game to sort of close me out of the TV show, but I had a great chance, only missing 6th place actually by 2 pins as it came down to it in the last game.
Well, maybe next week. First shot on the right-hand lane. Dana likes it, and oh, it took the 10-pin a while to topple, but it finally fell. Now, are you a proponent, Leila, of wearing the glove?
I think they are definitely beneficial for some players versus other players. Here you can see a great shot. That 10-pin just dancing around. And Dana, also a very animated player. Denny, I feel the gloves help with certain things. If you need to keep your wrist straight, they have the gloves to do that. The glove that Dana's wearing, as well as the glove that Ebonite makes, is excellent for keeping your fingers on the ball and getting the traction in the sense that you need to hang on to the ball and not lose it.
Excellent shot there on the left-hand lane, and so Dana Miller taking advantage, doubling up, and she now leads by 11 as Cindy Coburn steps up in the 3rd. Well, it would appear that you might lose a little feel with that, but then you look at all the Major League Baseball players that are wearing gloves, batting gloves now. We've got a slight delay here because on the right-hand lane, lane 20, we do have some dead wood in the left-hand channel, and you're not allowed to shoot until that's removed, and so they'll make a call to the back here, and the mechanic that's sitting astride lanes 19 and 20, there you see the ankle. Don't throw it now, Cindy. It reminds you of the old Pin Boys, right, Leila? Of course, you remember them.
Oh, of course, Jenny.
Oh, my. They had automatic scores when you were born, I think.
They did.
Come on now.
No, I did learn how to keep score.
Trying to climb right back into the thick of things. That one sails, and it just might be Cindy Coburn's evening because oh, my, the 2-pin was a little late, but it still fell.
I have to tell you, Denny, as many times as I've seen Cindy bowl on television, she gets more breaks like this. If she would go back and look at all her tapes, it's amazing how lucky this woman is on television.
Well, you know what they say, rather be lucky than good.
Well, she's also got the talent as well, so I guess you put them both together, that means a lot of titles.
She's got the 1-2 combination. Needs a double. And she gets a solid shot for Cindy Coburn in the 4th frame. And we're in game number 2, and it's a good one here between Coburn. Obviously a notch up on Cindy Coburn earlier in match play this week. And applying the vice grip there with an outstanding shot in the 4th.
She's also a very tough competitor, Denny. As you can tell, having 6 titles out there.
This is her 20th career television appearance. And overall, again, an outstanding record, 21 wins, 12 losses. So we have a pair of ladies out here on the championship pair that are able to throw strikes in the clutch.
Dana comes from a very bowling-oriented family. Her father's been out here touring with her. Her brother Mike is on the men's tour. Lefty also, I believe. And there's Dad right there.
Got a girl, he says, and I don't think he would be happy with anything less than strikes. What do you think?
I think good shots would satisfy him,
okay.
But I'm sure he wants all 10 pins to fall down.
Got an excellent match here in game number 2. Cindy Coburn defeated Renee Fleming in the opening game, 280 to 189, and boy, does she have her work cut out here in game number 2. Right back at him, though, comes Cindy Coburn. There won't be any give up on either one of these 2 players.
No, you won't see that, that's for sure. They'll go down fighting till the 12th frame.
Cindy with 11 strikes in the opening game.
Denny, she really looked like she hit the oil a little bit quicker that time than her ball crossing out as far to the dry as she has been. She was a little bit off balance, as we can see here. She's got great knee bend, however, she falls off balance the very last minute.
Needs to convert the bucket. No easy task.
No, this has not been an easy spare here. For fear of that, one thing, either you chop it or you don't get the ball quite to the pins.
Golden opportunity now for Dana Miller. Cindy Coburn with a mistake in the 6th.
Can't throw it too much better than that.
That's a familiar sight. Dad real pleased with that shot.
I think you were right. Dad was not going to be happy with anything less than 10 pins.
Funny, we had a chance to chat this morning when I came into the bowling center to watch round number 6. He and I sat down for a couple of minutes and reminisced a little bit and told me his daughter was bowling very well and hoped that she'd keep it up. And she did.
Dana has a really nice game, Denny. She's got long legs, long arms, and she utilizes them well. And she has a long stretch. She likes to get the ball way out on the lane.
Well, you see graphically the score as they head into the 7th frame. Winner will take on 20-year-old Lisa Maurice, and waiting in the wings, 21-year-old Dee Dee Davidson out of the Detroit, Michigan area. Trying to coax the 6 down, but it stands there solid. And really, there are very few cheap strikes this week, as we were kidding just prior to going on the air. Brand new sticks, brand new wood this week. And when you get that, you've got to hit them flush and throw good shots, or it's deflection city. And I don't want to say anything, but I knew there was at least one time this week where you really ripped the finger holes out of it and left a 5-7.
I did?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. When did I do that?
Convenient when that memory fails you, isn't it? But she made the spare. That's the important thing. It's a So while Cindy was flying high with the Skyhawk earlier this week, she's had her wing clipped here on lane 20.
Denny, it looked like she slowed up a little bit on this shot. She gets great knee bend. That's one thing her and Dana both have in common. Give them the leverage, but she slowed up a little bit on the speed. Can't really see that in the slow motion play, but you can see it hit the dry and then the ball just breaking sharply into the head pin.
Well, if this one stands true to form, then Renee Fleming, who qualified 5th, ended up there. Cindy Coburn, who started number 4, will take home a check worth $2,000, and of course the brand new car, which is valued at $12,200. So no matter what happens to Cindy here tonight, it was kind of like bonanza time, bonus time in the championship round. She was very excited about winning the new car.
Oh, I would be too. I tried.
Yeah, funny thing was, she shot the 300 on lanes 5 and 6, and 7 years ago when she bowled in the tournament here, she also shot 300 on that pair. So history does repeat itself.
Yeah, it sure does. I didn't even know that little bit of information.
Well, it's amazing what you can learn on ESPN, isn't it? Cindy, a little distraught, a little downtrodden, a great competitor, and I think she felt like she had a pretty good shot here tonight. She came out of the gates with a 280 game, but just didn't work out.
No, sometimes they say, though, once you shoot a real high game, the next game that comes around is always a letdown, or it is actually lower, because you can't do anything higher other than 290, 300.
That's tough. Best possible game that Cindy could put together now would be 212. She trails now by 36.
Another good shot on lane 20.
Well, one thing, it's amazing, both players obviously being left-handed and right-handed a little bit differently, but watch the knee bend for both players. It's almost exactly the same. It's like looking in a mirror.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, that's where they get all their leverage, Denny, and most of the women professionals do have a good knee bend. That's where they get their leverage and their carry power.
Well, this is my first up-close and personal look at Dana Miller, and I have to say I'm impressed with her game. Very solid.
Oh, excellent game. She said recently she has been working with Earl Anthony, and
might as well start at the top.
That's right. Her objective was to get the ball out on the lane instead of actually hitting it on the upswing, but to really project the ball out. And you can see her do this. It's in her face when she releases the ball. She's really trying to get it out there.
Well, it worked for Earl 41 times. 41 career PBA titles. We were talking about that knee bend a little earlier, and watch how low Dana Miller gets to the line.
I think Dana's actually about the lowest of all the players on the tour. She's up there, but then she comes back down.
I know one thing. I'd have to visit the chiropractor shortly after trying a shot like that. Well, Cindy Coburn, never saying die, comes back and throws a strike on the right-hand lane, but it's more than likely going to be too little too late. Possible 247 for Dana Miller. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, 212, the best possible score that Cindy Coburn could post.
You know, it's only the second week out on tour, Denny, and it takes some time to get in the groove and get in the swing of things, as you say. And Dana bowled real well last week, but not quite good enough to her own expectations. And she said this week she's kind of coming into her own. She felt that 1 week was bypassed and she was warmed up, and she showed it right here tonight.
Well, last week Cindy finished 7th and made a very good run for the telecast. So both players obviously nearing the top of their game. And of course, big tournament in Atlanta next week, the biggest regular event field ever in LPBT history. I know that talking to Fran Wolf, the national tournament director, she told me they had at least 110 entries going in, might add a few more by the time they get started. And then, of course, the big Seagram's Cooler U.S. Open the following week in Winston-Salem. There'll be 240 players there. So if you're going to get your game tuned up, now is the time to do it.
That's right. That's a great prize fund that we're looking at the U.S. Open.
Oh, my. 40,000 for first, 200,000 total.
Be a nice check to take home, and I'm planning on taking it home.
There you go. But don't forget, you'll be taking the television crew out for dinner shortly after the championship round.
I would do that.
And, of course, you pick up the check.
That's right.
Okay. Well, Cindy Coburn with a 201 in game number 2, but Dana Miller will advance into the semifinal game to take on Lisa Maurice. So all that's left, Leila Wagner, are left-handers.
It doesn't take
It doesn't take a rocket scientist.
Rocket scientist, that's the word. You used that last week to figure that out.
Why don't you just say a chemical engineer or something like that? How about it doesn't take a presidential candidate? Huh? No?
Well, that's appropriate for this time of the year.
It's been an interesting race. Don't want to get into politics now, though. Let's get back to bowling. Something we know something about, right?
You know, Dana's actually a great representative for the women's tour as well. She's a very pretty woman. She represented the women in the Australian Cup Challenge in Australia this past summer.
Well, there you see a 4th place finish for Cindy Coburn, who is done for the night, but maybe she'll drive home in that brand new Buick Skyhawk. We'll wait and see. Coming up next, another big match, though, here. 223-201 victory over Cindy Coburn.
I think Dana has to feel very comfortable now. She's had 1 game to warm up on lanes 19 and 20. She knows what the lanes are doing versus Lisa just coming in cold. And she knew just what the lanes were doing as she crossed over and went on the right-hand side.
You know what? I like a versatile player like that that's going to add a little excitement to the telecast. You know, why strike the way most people do? And what does that do mentally to Lisa Maurice, who stands up there and realizes that Dana didn't throw a very good shot and got away with one? Got to block it all out and bowl your own game.
And that has to help her out right here. Lisa's definitely feeling some of the pressure. It's only her 2nd time ever on national television.
2nd year out of the gate, looking for her first LPBT title. 17-7 in match play, and look at that on the television pier. Averaging better than 234. And her first appearance in Lake Charles Classic, was probably a remarkable experience for her, but it wasn't a good night. She shot 149 and did not bowl particularly well. So let's see if she's learned from that mishap, the first one in the championship round. I think she probably has.
She's been real strong this week, Denny. I crossed with her in qualifying rounds, and she looked great. She's a dynamic player, very emotional.
Very strong, and you're right, extremely emotional, very intense. I mean, she was running out spare attempts this week.
She has strong desire to win.
Looking for the double to even up the match.
Oh, lane 20 has given Dana some problems with that 7-pin.
It's got to drive you wild when you watch the label move around. You throw such a good shot, and that corner pin spins around in a do-si-do, and it doesn't go down.
Well, they say that they all even out there between the crossover strike and getting tapped on that one, but I don't think they ever do.
Who says that? Uh-oh, there's a mistake. Well, Dana Miller with the missed spare attempt on the cross alley spare, and very quickly, Lisa Maurice, who was sitting on the bench, takes a 10-pin lead.
You know, Dana's been trying not to lift up on the ball and instead lift out, and I think she lifted up on that shot as she did with the crossover strike, causing the ball to hook early. Looking a little confused there. She went crossing over on lane 19, making the adjustment, sending the ball long, didn't come back for her. That's when you come back and just shake your head.
Too bad that Dad can't offer some fatherly advice at this stage.
No, there's no coaching allowed in the match play rounds. Once the girls are up there, they're on their own.
Well, Dana has to stretch out a little bit, but makes the spare. Now let's see if young Lisa Maurice can take advantage of the opportunity. Lisa, only 20 years of age, and I first learned about her through Chuck Pisano, who was the Eastern Regional Director for the PBA, and of course Chuck knows all the players on the East Coast. And he said, Denny, she is an outstanding young prospect, just developing.
Yes, she is, and you can tell. Look at the concentration that this woman has.
I know one thing. If she were in one of those stare-down contests, she'd have to be a finalist. Gives it plenty of room.
Oh.
Comes roaring back, and this time it's the soft 7.
The ball not quite driving hard enough to throw the 4-pin in the 7.
Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts about the loft that Lisa employs? Do you think it breaks down some of the consistency of the hit, or what?
Well, yes and no, Denny. So on this condition, it actually helped her. Both her and Dee Dee could get the ball down the lane, and on the shorter oil condition, it's better for them versus setting it short.
Well, she set that one short of the 7-pin at about 50 feet. That one was in the channel, so both players have missed a corner pin.
I have to say, I've seen a lot of 7-pins and a lot of spares missed by the left-handers this week. I think if they wouldn't have missed as many spares, they would have led by even more than they did.
Keep in mind, Dee Dee Davidson still to come out of Detroit, Michigan. She holds down the #1 position. So both players here, though, Maurice and Miller, have made critical errors in spare shooting. Excellent shot, though, in the 4th. Lisa unhappy with the miss, but you have to pick up the pieces and go on, and she's done just that here in the semifinal match of the 4th. Dana Miller trails by 9 here in the 4th. Solid shot.
Finally getting that 7-pin out on lane 20.
You can almost see a little sigh of relief there coming out of the commercial break. That's one of the toughest things to have to cope with in the championship round. You get your tempo going, your rhythm a little bit, and then you have to stop and start.
It's not easy having to break.
Dana Miller, 31 years of age, out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
The ball breaking a little bit too high. Got herself out of a split possibility again.
Dana started the week after the opening round in 24th place, then moved to 13th, and then made quite a nice jump in the opening round of match play all the way to 3rd, dropped back to 5th, and then 3rd for the telecast.
Well, her biggest jump from 24th up to 13th and 3rd, her father went out and drilled her 2 balls. And that's great having somebody that knowledgeable travel with you and be able to do that for you.
Well, you know what they say, though, father knows best.
Apparently he did this week.
Just ask Robert Young. Trying to work on a double here. Trying to put one together. Oh, the oohs and the ahs, the chorus from the crowd, and good reason for it. That ball was on the twig at 45 feet.
She definitely threw this ball far too left of her target. However, as you can tell, the dry area is out there, and her ball comes raring back.
Sir Isaac Newton would be surprised by this one. The laws of gravity. They didn't uphold themselves. They're half that ball, more than half of it in the channel. It comes back, a little shake and bake, and she ends up with an X. Leads by 19.
And she also got the crossover on lane 19. That's what you call an adjustment, Denny. She was not going to throw it out that far as she did on lane 20.
Even when you're 20, you do have some semblance of nerves, and I think she used them up on the right-hand lane. But nevertheless, takes advantage of the break, and she leads by 29.
And it looks like Dana Miller has lane 20 down.
Just happened to go back to work.
Here you can see an excellent shot of Dana's approach. She gets great knee bend. She's down at the line, but she sets the ball short. She's trying to get the ball to go long.
Projecting it down the lane. Like that shot from the moment it left her hand. And that's a big double, a key double to get back in the thick of the match and keep a little pressure on Lisa Maurice, who is yet untested in this situation.
That's true. Lisa, in her previous match on television.
19 works on the three-bagger, trying to extend the lead, and that one cuts right through the heart of the head pin and carves out only the 4.
It's really tough to trust the ball when she throw it out that far, Denny. She's trying to, but she's not really able to do it with the amount of speed that she had on that one shot on lane 20 that she got away with.
Ahead in the match and just trying to stay there at this point.
On Lisa's previous match on television, she was never able to put any pressure on the other player, and she definitely needs to cover her spares, as she almost didn't do that time.
As we mentioned, her best previous finish, 5th in the Lake Charles Classic. Well, she can do no worse than 3rd here this evening. And no worse than $2,300.
Now that was a super shot. She trusted that one with speed, and you can tell by her reaction she liked it. Here's the intensity of the player right here.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty intense.
Great shot again by Dan on lane 20. We got a quick shot there of a tennis shoe, if you caught that. I'm sure we'll get it back here.
Well, I know this is college basketball season, but why would she be wearing a tennis shoe?
Well, on synthetics, especially as we were bowling this week and also last week, you have a problem getting traction in your feet, and you need that to get the leverage and to actually keep the ball in play. And Dana's wearing a tennis shoe for that added traction.
Dana, if she keeps striking, working at a 238 clip. And just as I say that, obviously not going to be able to shoot quite that much. 226, the best possibility. There you see old Eagle Eyes, Gary, looking on, trying to help it out a little bit, and not quite.
Well, that was a key shot, Denny. Dana actually needed that to stay with Lisa in this match.
Well, I mentioned 226, the best possible score, but that's incorrect. It would be 216 if she would strike out in the 10th. Meanwhile, Lisa Maurice working at a
246
clip.
pace if she strikes out. So Lisa actually has the first time ever in her career can close somebody else for a match on television. And all Dana is thinking is, give me a chance. That's all she wants is one more chance. But I don't think Lisa's going to give it to her. That was an awfully strong shot.
Well, that's probably her best of the evening, and she couldn't have picked a better time to provide it. She leads now by 20 pins. At this point in time, a mark would pretty much do it, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would, except the count.
Yep, very important yet. This one's not over. And
this strike here would lock it up, Denny.
We do have the courtesy of a couple of electronic scoreboards right above the players. So they're very much aware of their situation now as Lisa hears something that breaks her concentration. So rather than race up there and throw an errant shot, she'll step off the approach. Took her time and got a very, very nice break there. 7-pin falling at the last moment, and that would have been difficult to have to convert the little baby split.
Yes, it would have.
Not what you want to do to win your opening match.
No, as you can see here, the ball's going to drive hard into the head pin, and something knocks out the 7-pin there. Something came out of the back.
Was it the 5? I don't know. Maybe it was the 8 or 9 or the 5. And breathing a little bit easier now.
I tell you, Denny, that first match, once you win that first match on television, from then on, it's easy. You just relax so much.
And off in the distance, Dee Davidson warming up, getting ready for the championship match. And basically what it comes down to is a pair of players who have never yet won a national tournament are going to get a shot to win their first. Needed 2 and got 9, so it's a victory for Lisa Maurice. Dana Miller will finish up 3rd this week. And that was worth $2,300.
And once again, they're finishing as they started.
Well, what's that mean? You like Dee Davidson in the championship game?
Well, I don't know. Lisa's looking pretty good now.
That's for sure. It'll be a good one. Lisa Maurice wins the semifinal game, shooting 224. Is Dana Miller just going to finish things up here, but we're going to take a break because coming up in just a moment.
Bowling Lisa in the title match, knowing that she has never won a title as well, instead of going up against, say, Dana Miller.
That's a good point. You never know what's going to happen the first time around. Good shot that time by Lisa Maurice, who disposed of Dana Miller in the semifinal game.
And we saw Lisa miss a 7-pin in the first match. I saw her over practicing on lane 18, and she missed another one. So what's going through her head right now is, please let me cover this spare.
Her fiance, Dave Heller, I know has probably worked hours and hours on those cross-alley spares. Let's see if it's paid off. Lisa applauds herself that time for making the spare. And there you see the television finalists position by rounds in this event. And boy, Dee Davidson started slow and picked up the pace and just never looked back.
Well, Denny, Dee made some ball changes also, and they definitely helped her. You don't move from 17 up to 3rd place without some type of help.
Said the key for her in the championship round, keep my feet slow. By nature, I do things fairly quickly, and I get into trouble when the feet start moving a little too fast. The lanes are a little tighter than they were throughout the week, so she's using the same type of equipment, but not necessarily the same ball. Finished 5th last week.
I don't think she was real positive on that spare shot by her reaction.
Boy, does she have some velocity, though. Bowling fans get a chance to watch her here this evening. 19-5, and she just bowled them right over. Really took advantage of her momentum as she moved into round number 4, and she simply grabbed the lead in this one and just sprinted to the finish line.
She's really full of confidence, Danny. She finished 5th last week. She said she had a good week, bowling well, and here she's leading the tournament.
You know, the difference being you can hear her strikes when that ball hits the pin. She does throw the ball with some great velocity. Very strong.
Great game. Just a great game. You know, she was the only left-hander in the practice session that was not lined in. All the other left-handers in this tournament in the practice session were striking at will, and Dee Dee could not find a shot.
Well, the first 2 weeks of the winter tour have been gobbled up by the Southpaws. Only 8 left-handers entered out of 89 this week, and 3 of them end up in the championship round. But I'll tell you, you know, it's really strange because through the years, as I've covered the sport of bowling and bowled myself, the left-handed players never, ever get credit when they bowl well. It's always because the lanes are easier, they're set up for them. When they don't bowl well and the right-handers bowl better, it's because the lefties aren't as good. And it's really a tough knock because there are weeks when left-handed players bowl great and they don't get any credit.
No, I agree. It is a difficult situation.
First re-rack that we have seen here in the championship round. Lisa Marie's not pleased with the rack on lane 19, but it is tough, so difficult to set up a fair and equitable condition for both the left-handers and the right-handers week in and week out. And there are going to be times when they're going to have advantages, other times when they're going to be at a disadvantage. But
well, it's difficult when there are so many right-handed players. They actually, like we mentioned in the opening, we break down our own shot. And Lisa almost getting the break there.
Dee Dee Davidson opting to console herself rather than watch her opponent bowl, and it appears the more and more that I watch championship round performances, the more and more I realize that most players don't watch their opponents.
No, that last game goes so quickly, and you want that championship game to be a good one. Obviously, you want to win. You don't want to be influenced by anything that your opponent does. So if you just keep your head down, keep your concentration, it makes it a lot easier to bowl.
I know a lot of players have done it in the past, but I think the first professional player I remember doing that was Dave Davis. I think he got to the point where I don't know if he was so tired of watching people beat him, knowing David the way I do, or if he just decided to zone everybody out and concentrate on himself. But he kind of started the trend, and once again we see
2 different shoes. Dee Dee as well said she could slide better with her silver shoe than her white shoes, so she is opted to use silver slide shoe.
What I want to know is, do they ever wear the other shoes on the opposite side? Probably not.
I don't think so.
Just a thought. We don't want to bring this up, but being the journalists that we are, we have to. Dee Dee Davidson is 0 for 4 on national television. After she lost last week, she came up to me and she said, Danny, when am I going to win a game on national TV? And I said, probably next week. And she giggled and walked away, and here she ends up leading the tournament. And if she wins, she'll get her first title.
That's true. Not only will she get her first game on television, but she'll get her first title.
And we're even Steven here through 3 frames. Nobody giving up anything here. And, of course, on top, $7,500. And the winner will cash for $3,750.
You know, I asked Dee Dee if she felt more comfortable being in the first place position rather than the 5th place position. And she said last week she felt good, but obviously just to come out and win 1 game was going to be a lot easier than trying to go up the ladder.
Well, that was Flush City there on lane 19.
Here you get a nice view of Dee Dee's game. She's got excellent arm swing, very simple, down low at the line, good extension, and the ball just hits like a truck. And every shot is going to be intense. Like I said before, these players have desire, and they're very dynamic.
Well, neither of them going to leave anything in the paddock area here this evening. Both going to give it 110%. Lisa Marie's trying to answer back a little bit high in the 6-pin stands.
So far, only 1 pin separates. However, Dee Dee's up on a strike. Lisa's father, Joe Morris, is very happy at home, I'm sure, to see his daughter on the championship round. He's been very instrumental in helping her get through junior programs. He's a coach back where she's from.
Well, she's bowled very well here this evening.
All week.
Yeah, that's true, too. It was funny, earlier today, she struggled after the first couple of games, and she was kind of rolling her eyes, and I said, boy, isn't this fun, Lisa? And she said, not really.
It's a job, Denny.
Well, it is. It's tough.
It's not easy.
Nope. She came bouncing back, though. Qualified number 2 this week.
She got that one out far to the left there, and that ball came rearing back, but not enough to throw that 4-pin into the 7. And that's where you mentioned earlier about that added loft. Does that tend to cut down on carrying? In this case, I would say yes. Her ball just didn't get into a heavy enough roll to throw the 4 into the 7. It laid flat in the channel.
And for most people who haven't yet had a chance to watch Lisa bowl, I think she's actually cut down a little on the loft over last year. I think she even threw the ball a little further out on the lane, if you can believe that. That's her style. That's basically the way she learned to bowl, and I think she's probably trying to develop more projection than throwing the ball up in the air. And just as I say that, she whistles right past the 7-pin. So she missed a 7 in the first game, and now here in the second as well.
Denny, the outside of the lane is hooking quite a bit, and it's not hard to just, slim by that, whiz by it.
You're right. It's pretty critical on the cross alley. If you give it a little too much room, it scoots into the channel. If you cut it a little short, it will hook on you. Golden opportunity, and Dee Dee Davidson steps right up, takes advantage and doubles. And I think that's what's so impressive about watching the ladies. When they're given the opportunity to take a little edge in a match, a little advantage, 9 times out of 10 at this level, they'll do it.
Well, that's what makes champions.
Leads now by 23.
It's the players that don't get up and strike when they have that opportunity that do not end up with the titles, that don't win.
Boy, a couple of fresh faces, huh? Lisa Maurice and Dee Dee Davidson.
And she's feeling a lot more comfortable now, Denny. Her confidence level is very high. She's got the fans back here cheering for her. She's had them all week. Told her the average age of Dee Dee's fan club was about 15 this week. She had them all carrying her balls. I said, where did you get all these guys?
Well, you inherit them when you get to the lead, don't you? Excellent crowds all week long, and Kenny Matthews, really the proprietor here, does an outstanding job promoting locally, and just does about everything you possibly can to make it a fun week and a professional week. I know he had a couple of different dinners set up for the ladies for the match play finalists, and he really goes out of his way to put on a first-class show, and he's done it once again this week.
Yes, he does. We really enjoy coming here to Fort Pierce Bowl every year.
For those of you geographically wondering where Fort Pierce is, if you know where Dodgertown is in Vero Beach, it's only about 15 minutes away.
Key shot for Lisa right here. She needs a strike. And not getting it.
Nope. Frame starting to slip away just a little bit. Kind of a helpless feeling. A little baby split now for Lisa Maurice. What's the key here?
Well, she obviously wants to go in between the 2-pin and the 7-pin, touching both pins with the ball. With the trouble she's having with the 7-pin, we'll have to see what she does.
You almost kind of fit this one like a glove.
Looks good. And a great attempt and a great shot.
That's just the way you draw it up, isn't it?
That's right.
Unfortunately, right now, spares aren't enough. It's a 33-pin advantage for Dee Dee Davidson, who could make it 43 if she strikes here in the 7th.
Dee Dee looked real good in practice, too, Denny. She was throwing a lot of strikes. Real solid. Very intense concentration right there. See it in her eyes. Good shot. She was solid at the line. Last week, Denny, Dee Dee seemed to be fast with her feet. She was falling off a lot of the shots. And this week, she is slow and real solid. As we get a chance to see it right here. Real low. Good leverage. Once again, that Thunderbolt just rips that rack.
Doesn't take them very long to get off the deck either, you
No.
noticed. And it's clean. There's not much left standing when she's done. Just get the impression that this young lady's liable to take off here. It's amazing when you watch a player win their first championship, what a high it is for them, and what a release it is to finally get that monkey off your back and get that first one out of the way. Now it's time to really start to think about bigger and better things.
It was for me after
Sure.
8 years.
Yeah.
I had a real big monkey, more like an ape
It was a gorilla.
on my back.
Yes, it was. King Kong on your
King
back.
Kong was on my back.
Lisa Maurice now on the 8th, trying to get anything started. Boy, she hit that shot nicely, and it overreacted just a touch. And 6-pin stands, and obviously Lisa realizing that title #1 may just be slipping away.
Yes, but a second place finish is not too shabby for her second time on television. She's got to be pleased with her performance this week. She just bowled super all week, and you can't do anything when another player actually goes out there and throws all those strikes at you.
I think, you know this probably better than anybody else. When you come out on tour, the first key is to get a check. Then the next key, okay, let me get into the finals, get that match play. Now it's make the championship round. Now let's win a game in the championship round, and then you go from there to hopefully either leading a tournament or winning a tournament. And so she has, crossed another hurdle, but at the same time, she'll be disappointed that she's not going to get the victory. But as you said, it's a growing and learning process. And what the heck, when you're 20 years old to finish second, that's not all too bad.
No, it isn't. It's wonderful. She'll have a long career ahead of her. I'm sure a lot of titles. And that's what I said about Dee Dee just last week, Denny. I said
right.
we will see this lady again, and she will win many titles. And here she is the very next week.
Now, she's got too much talent. I don't think there's any question about that. I talked with her just prior to the championship round this evening, and I said, have you ever bowled for a title before? And she said, yes, I did. And one of my good friends, Alita Sill, beat me. I needed a strike, or actually just a spare in the 10th frame. Threw the ball right in the pocket and left a swishing 7-10. So I said, well, maybe they owe you one. And she winked at me and she said, yeah, maybe tonight will be the night.
Well, my first time leading a tournament, Don Adamek walked out and threw the first 5 strikes at me, and there went my first chance at a title. So it's difficult to be in the second place position.
Well, she leads by 55, and right now she is conversing with Fran Wolf, the national tournament director. I think trying to figure out just how many pins she is ahead. And at this point in time, bowling at a 270 clip. Well, Cindy Coburn shot 280 earlier this evening in the opening game. If you're going to go out, you might as well shoot 270. Oh, my, this looks like instant replay.
First game and last game. Well, you mentioned Lou, Lou, Lou earlier. Now they're chanting Dee Dee in the background here.
.270 to win your first title. That would be a touch of class. More icing on the cake. Why not? Oh, 10 pins going to stand, but Dee Dee Davidson wraps up her first ever LPBT title, and it was also a big week for a couple of collegiate players, Jackie Sellers of Penn State and Chris Viali of William Patterson College were voted as the Collegiate Bowlers of the Year earlier this week by the Bowling Writers Association of America. Second year in a row for Jackie Sellers, and I wonder if we'll see her out here on the LPBT Tour in the near future. And, of course, it was also a big week as far as the Pro-Am was concerned. Over 300 entries, and Brenda Pickrell ends up the winner, and she cashed for $500. Well, it's all over. We'll be back to talk with Dee Dee Davidson, our latest winner, right after these messages.
Firebolt Classic here. Fort Pierce Bowl in Fort Pierce, Florida. Very exciting championship round, and with a beautiful trophy and some roses, the proprietor, Ken Matthews.
Well, Dee Dee, I want to congratulate you on a fine victory. It seems like this tournament has had your name on it all week. Congratulations.
Beautiful. All right, and more good news by Bill Supper, Vice President of Sales for Ebonite.
Dee Dee, on behalf of Ebonite, I'd like to present you with this check for $7,500 and congratulate you on your first LPBT title. Congratulations.
First of all, I'd like to thank Ebonite for sponsoring our tournament. I'd also like to thank Fort Pierce Bowl for doing an outstanding job here, and Ken Matthews, can't forget him. And thank the fans and everybody, and I'm real excited. I'm going to go in the bar and drink a little bit now.
Just one quick question. Last week, when I said you hadn't won any matches, you said, geez, when am I ever going to win one? And boy, you bowled well here tonight.
Yeah, I've bowled my best, highest game being in the first position, so I felt pretty confident, but I was a little shaky out here in practice, and I worked on some things out there, and it came across here.
Well, whatever you worked on, make sure you leave some of it for the rest of us. A very exciting championship for Dee Dee Davidson. So long, everybody, from Fort Pierce Bowl in Fort Pierce, Florida. The Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour next week in Atlanta. Big championship round in Atlanta, Georgia. You want to make sure you stay tuned for that on ESPN. The Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour on ESPN has been brought to you by Ebonite, where advanced technology has striking results. And by True Value Hardware. It's not just our name.